Hey. Hi. You're back. I'm back. Let's do this. I have a question. Something that everybody does. And it happens all the time. Lock Me Outside from Tumblr says, do you and your girlfriend fight? And what is your view on couples who do fight but love each other so much they make it work? I think that's what it's all about, working things out. No matter what, there are always going to be fights in any kind of relationship. Yeah, there can be somewhere there are minimal amount of fights when there's a ton of fights, but I feel like in the beginning, all relationships are going to be a smooth ride. It's going to be awesome for the most part. It's until you really start to feel really comfortable with that person and you start to really learn and know about that person and you start to see a little bit of the dysfunctionalities, if there are any. Everybody fights. Yeah, my girlfriend and I fight, and it's not anything too bad, but it's always something where we'll do our best to work things out. She'll communicate with me, she'll talk to me, tell me what's bugging her, I'll tell her what's bugging me. Yes, there are times where we just kind of don't say anything, but we're mad and we know. Like, I know when my girl is really mad and she knows when I'm mad, and I think it's one of the cutest things ever because it's like, babe, I know something's wrong. I know something's wrong. I know something is wrong and I know you're not telling me, but I know. There's just certain little characteristics that you learn about them and you know, and you just know them, and I think it's so cute. But I think every relationship is gonna have fights, small or big, medium-sized, whatever kind of fight, and I feel like that's something that all relationships need to have at certain points, because that's when you know that you're not just gonna let everything slide, be content with everything. You know, there are boundaries you need to set in a relationship, there are limits that you need to have, and it's not always gonna be talked about in the beginning. So when things are not talked about or there's differences, you talk it out, and sometimes you can avoid the fights and sometimes you can't, but just about how you handle it with your significant other. You just have to, not necessarily compromise, but you do have to work with the other person. You have to know what they don't like, and don't do that shit on purpose. They have to know what you like, and they can't do shit on purpose to fucking piss you off. If there's something going on like that, it's a constant thing and there's horrible things happening all the time, then you know something's totally up and totally wrong, and you don't need that. Every relationship is gonna fight. Every healthy relationship is gonna fight. And I always used to not believe in that. I always used to be like, wait, every healthy relationship fights? Like, how does that sound healthy? But as you live life, you start to learn and you start to see these things and you experience things. Just like your parents, you guys fight all the time. I don't know if you guys have a great relationship, but it goes back to how it was. You have to have arguments or some kind of disagreement because there's probably something wrong when a couple is just 120% happy the entire time. I mean, I guess there's a few cases where they just don't fight. I bet even then there's some form of compromisation there, or there's some form of working things out with the other person. I feel like there's not going to be a relationship that is always going to be smooth and never have fights. I believe that there's a smooth point in a relationship where things will eventually be really smooth. And when you learn things like marriage, when you're married, yes, you're going to have arguments, yes, you're going to have fights and stuff. You're marrying that person because you're willing to work things out. That totally went off on a different tangent. But of course, every relationship has fights. Like I said, some may be big, some may be small, some might last 2 days, some might last like an hour, 25 minutes, or just have that moment where you disagree and then you're like, okay, kiss. That's my finger. It's like a couple kissing. If two people want to be with each other and they want to be fighting all the time, but yet they want to make things work, it's all up to them. To me, at the end of the day, they love each other and they're not hurting each other in any way, and they're not like wanting to strangle each other. That's a good thing as long as they work things out together and there's the effort there. I don't really know if you refer to people that are like on and off again or what the deal is there. There's always going to be fights. It's just a way of figuring each other out even more and really forming a bond. All couples have fights at least a couple times. There are people that say if you don't fight, you don't care. Like, if you don't fight for something, then you don't care for it. To an extent, that's necessarily true. Sometimes it does apply to the arguments in a relationship, because if you really didn't care, then you wouldn't be making this argument. Sometimes arguments will start because you feel like the other person doesn't care. That's when you start to judge whether it's worth staying in the relationship or not. I mean, not just on that moment, but on every other moment that you do fight. Yeah, I hope I didn't really make this too confusing. It does kind of sound a little confusing at some points, but don't be scared if you have a couple arguments here and there. That's natural. That's normal. At least that's what I believe. As long as there's no physical abuse and all, any of that. I thank you for pressing play on this video. Thank you so much for everybody who still supports me and watches me and has been with me for a while, and my new subscribers and everybody that views my stuff. Just thank you so much. I hope that you continue to do so. Here are all my social medias, so go follow me, and I'll catch you guys next time. Okay, bye.